My name is Zeus Platt. I'm the founder of Project Sasquatch. I um, got into Sasquatch and investigating and researching Sasquatch about 34 years ago, um, when I seen my first family of Sasquatch. And back up above Gateway, Colorado, I used to live in a homestead log cabin with a dirt floor for years and years and years. And we were headed up the mountain to go camping one night, and the vehicle broke down, and we ended up having to spend the night in the old Suburban there. And I woke up in the middle of the night with these three three things looking into the window at us while we were sleeping. And I kind of yelled, and my dad woke up. And as everybody kind of woke up, these things just kind of went below the window of the Suburban and took off. And the next day there was some friends coming up, bringing more supplies, and we just waited for them until morning. And when they came up the next morning to where we were broke down at, it turns out it was an old fuel pump. And they were actually checking out the footprints and stuff that these creatures had left. And ever since then, I've been fascinated, wanting to know what the heck they are, and where they come from, and why they do what they do out in the forest. And just kind of educate myself. And uh I just recently, about, I don't know, about 3 years ago or so, a little over 3 years ago, decided to start going public, and start to, I was kind of talked into it, to kind of educate um people on the subject and whatnot, because I have a pretty good knowledge of these creatures. Ever since I've seen my first set of Sasquatch, I've seen lots more since then. I mean, I see several every single year. I could tell you about the recent one I had. I had another recent sighting about a week ago when I was out investigating again. And this was the first time I've been out since springtime's rolling in. And because I live high up in the mountains, my house sits at about 8,000 feet in elevation. And so the snow's kind of melted off now, and it's still trying to melt off a little higher elevations. It's still pretty cold out. And last night we got a lot of rain and a little bit of snow, but it's melted off. And so I finally, I think it was like last week, uh, I went up into the Hermit area up here. And I said, well, I need to get up there and check it out. And I just got a good feeling. I get hit with feelings about certain areas. And so I said, well, I really need to get up there and check it out. And the snow should be melted off pretty good up there. So I decided to go um, get some food, get my wife, my pup and everything. We went up there and went all the way to the backside. And I grabbed my camcorder and whatnot, and because I document all the structures and footprints. And if I can remember to bring casting material and I find a good footprint, I cast it. So so we went up to Hermit Park up there and went around to the backside. I jumped out, and I went walking back in there, probably about a mile and a half. But I want to say about a quarter mile in, there's an area that I know it's really good. It's just this one area, and it's off trail. And I've found good structures. I've had vocals and whatnot up in that area. I haven't seen one in that area yet until last week. But I found structures and all this stuff in this certain area. And as I was walking, I kind of glanced up, and I just vaguely noticed something like a black head and a black shoulder, jet black, sticking out from behind this tree. I want to say, I don't know, 60 yards or so away. And I stopped and I looked back up, and I was like, holy cow, is that what I think it is? I was like, no way. And I didn't get nervous at all. I felt a little bit creeped out. Because you know how in certain areas you either feel really, really scared, something's making you very scared. You feel maybe a little creeped out, but not so much scared, a little nervous. So I looked up and I got my camcorder out and I got it on video, pieces of it. I really had a hard time focusing in on because it was so far away, and I could swear I seen eyes on it and everything like that, right? So I got it on video. I got a still shot off the video. It's a tidbit blurry, but you're not going to get around that when you're trying to bring an image up off of a video and try to zoom in on it. You could see the eyes and you could see the nose on it, and it's definitely something sitting there. And so I just said, you know what, I'm going to continue up the mountain. So I continued up the mountain. I didn't see much evidence going up the mountain. I got up to the top, and I ran into an X, and it was like the only structure from the point I seen that thing all the way to the top. And it's really weird because when you get into these areas with their structures, you seem to get energized energy. Your phone suddenly gets, service and starts binging at you, and then you step out of that area and you lose service. So went up there, documented that. I was getting like service on around that X, and then I noticed when I was up there at that X, there was something behind me following me. And it first dawned on me, I said, I wonder if it's the fella that I just was trying to film down on the bottom that was like a statue sticking out from behind this tree a little bit. And I said, well, I'll try to head up maybe. And then I tried heading up trail just a little bit. And I got to the point where I was feeling pretty creeped out because whatever it is, which I think it was that thing that I was got on film, the fellow down below, he was following me. He was just out of view of me seeing him, but I could hear him. And so I trucked my way back down the mountain and looking around, and I could hear it following me. And I got to the spot where I seen black spot. The black spot's not there anymore. So that was a pretty big confirmation on me. And that was the recent one for this summer so far.
About how many Sasquatch have you seen, do you think?
Hundreds, if not 1,000 or more. I, I see it. I see probably 5 to 8 to 15 Sasquatch every summer.
Is it generally in the same area in Colorado?
It's different areas because see, I'll where I reside, I see a lot of them. Some of them may be the same Sasquatch that I've seen the year before, and but I'll take off on little expeditions in different parts of Colorado to go investigate some sightings that may have been reported to me. Um, I got a really handy tool in my arsenal. It's called the Bigfoot Mapping Project. And when I stumbled across that, I went ahead and bought that. It was like $1.99. I thought, boy, this is going to be really useful because wherever I go in an area that I'm not familiar with, I can look on that map, and if there's been any sightings, it's that they put it on the map. So I don't know how that works, but there's these sightings wherever you go, and I can kind of get on there and see, oh, okay, well, there's been some sightings here and there. If I go, say, to Steamboat Springs, Colorado, and I can see there's, somebody reported sightings and put them on the map, so I can go investigate those areas. So a lot of the areas that I'm not familiar with, like last summer, I went up to Leadville, and I didn't see one that when we were in Leadville, but I had some crazy interaction. Something charged me in the kind of bluff charged me in the woods coming at me, and I got a lot of wood knocks and hoots and hollers and whatnot, and the battery on my camcorder was acting crazy. It would drain, it would fill itself back up. It was all kinds of weird stuff. So, and again with that, uh, the way I find Sasquatch, and like kind of like the same thing as when I went to Leadville, I simply examine the land, examine the weather patterns and what the weather's going to be like, examine how the sun hits each of the mountain peaks and ridges, and I examine what type of trees are there because I kind of know what type of trees that they like and where I can go into and where I'm most likely going to have a sighting where I can find these things and kind of start tracking them down to a nest or even them. So I look at the water sources, I look at the way the sun hits the ridges and the mountains and the type of trees, and I look at many different things in order to do this, and it seemed to work for me just about every time. And because usually wherever I go, I end up running in or seeing a Sasquatch, and most of the time I don't even get it on video. Because they're so quick. I look up and there's something looking out from me from behind a tree, and then I go to raise my camcorder up to get it on video, and they take off. They seem to absolutely know what that thing is in your hands, the camcorder or a camera. They seem to know exactly what that is, because because it's on a tripod, and as soon as I bring it up and I flip the monitor open, you know, they seem like they know what you're going to do, and then they take off. They're very intelligent. They know exactly what your every step that you're going to take. It's an organization I started, and it ended up being pretty big. There's a lot of people from around the world that know Project Sasquatch, and just from my findings and my knowledge on Sasquatch, and my whole mission is to educate myself and educate others on this creature, because there's a lot of people that can't get out in the woods because maybe they're disabled in some way, and there's others that are just simply too scared to even find out for themselves, so they would rather watch a guy like me or whatever go out and investigate these things and gain knowledge on themselves, on kind of what they do, and the structures that they build. And on my YouTube, on Project Sasquatch on YouTube, I try to educate a lot. I mean, if a guy was to go on there and look, you could see that I'm really informative, I'm really educational. um I don't do this to try to be famous and rich and all that junk. I own my own business in town. I like to get on there and educate people, and mainly educate myself, but also share what I have and what I find. And it's just pretty fascinating. This whole thing's very fascinating.
So if I were to ask you, some of the most important things that I need to know about Sasquatch, what would you tell me?
One of the most important things I could tell you about Sasquatch is, a lot of people uh, dub this creature as this, just a bundle of roses out there. They're just this. They'll never hurt you. They're just this. How should I put it? Just a super kind, which some of them are really kind. I advise people, when you go out there and you look for Sasquatch, always use extreme caution. You're dealing with a creature with its own mind, its own attitude, its own feelings. One day it could have, it could have a bad tooth, it could have a hurt leg or something wrong with it, or just it could be kind of rogue in itself, kind of on the mean side. And there are Sasquatch out there that are extremely mean, and they won't hesitate on trying to hurt you.
What experiences have you personally had with Sasquatch when they're a little bit contrary and being more aggressive?
They'll hit you with rocks, and they will hurt you. Um, my ex-wife, we were out in Utah, and we were kind of investigating an area, and I told her, I said, I don't think these Sasquatch are very nice up here. Um, just kind of the evidence that I was seeing and the feelings that I was getting and how they were acting. They acted like they were a little bit on the hostile side. We never seen one up there. We never seen them, but they seemed like they were a little bit hostile. And well, this rock came flying out of nowhere and hit my ex-wife, right in the middle of her head, and it hurt her. We had to go to the hospital. Uh, she fell to her knees and fell on her back, and I thought she was going to start going into like some kind of seizure or something. And I uh, I just told them, I said, okay, we're leaving. I always tell them that whenever they're trying to act crazy with me, I'll just tell them I'm leaving. And I ran her to the hospital, and turns out she's okay, but the middle of her forehead was swelled up. She had two very slight black eyes. So they'll let you know if they're, and the good Sasquatch, the ones that, because I've kind of noticed throughout the years, if I run into more hostile Sasquatch, they don't seem to build structures much. There's not much in the way for structures. You'll find a few breaks, But if you go into like good Sasquatch, like the better Sasquatch in their area, they tend to build these X's, they tend to build a lot of structures, a lot of bends, a lot of different stuff. And the good Sasquatch, they may not want you in their area, but they're not going to get real hostile with you and pull something a bad Sasquatch would like. They'll toss rocks at you, but generally they're smaller rocks, and they'll throw them to the side of you as a deterrent for you. Unlike, what the experiences I've had with these mean Sasquatch, they like to try and hit you with these rocks, and they're not small rocks, and they will hurt you. And so the good ones, they'll tend to, make a little noise, but you could tell the difference by the way they try to deter you versus each one of those two type of Sasquatch. One's, is a lot more hostile. This one over here seems nicer, but trying to get you out of there. They just don't want you in their area. They're very territorial. I've been up into the northern part of California, a little bit into the southern area of California. Southern area of California actually has quite a few mountain ranges, and I can't remember the names of them right offhand. A lot of forested area. Actually, they used to have grizzly and stuff down in those areas. Uh, Oregon, I used to live up in Coos Bay and North Bend, Oregon. I used to investigate a little bit around there. Washington, Idaho, Montana, Utah, a little bit in Nevada. Um, let's see, New Mexico, Arizona, up into Canada. Um, I tried to get when I was in Alaska. I tried to get out in Alaska, but my job at the time there wasn't really much time for me to actually get out and do anything there. Um, let's see, pretty much the whole Western United States. A little bit. I did a little bit in Missouri. I had a little bit of encounters there. Whistles and wood knocks and your typical stuff. Um, and I want to say that's about it as far as exploring some of the states and some of those areas.
If you were a researcher, which state would you recommend would be probably the most beneficial state to go to actually have maybe more of an experience?
Pennsylvania, uh, Ohio. Um, let's see the Adirondacks in New York. Um, there's all that area on the east side of the United States. Pennsylvania is one of the hotter areas for Sasquatch. In my opinion, I think there's more Sasquatch sightings in those areas than there is in Oregon or Washington. My opinion, but because I've gotten tons of different reports, of people seeing Sasquatch in those areas. And if you pull up a map and on Sasquatch sightings, you'll notice there's more concentrated Sasquatch sightings up around Pennsylvania, Adirondacks, and down around through that area than there is on this western side of the United States. On the western side of the United States, I would say Colorado's a really good spot. Oregon and Washington are probably a little better than Colorado. Northern California, all the West Coast up there, I think is a fabulous area. It's really a lot thicker, very thick forest up there. It's incredibly difficult to actually catch one on video up there. I mean, you really have to keep your eyes peeled. I mean, it's very, very thick. It gets really thick here in Colorado too, but we get a lot of those dark, what a lot of people say, depressing type forests where they're just deep, dark, and there's just the stick, lodgepole pine, no bushes or anything. It's lodgepole pine and ground and rock, and that's it. It's really deep and dark stuff. Yeah, I've had a lot of experiences with orbs. I actually have got some on video where an orb had actually flew in front of my camera, and I watched it. It was on video and everything. It hit the top of a small X on the ground, one of the trees making the X. It hit the top of it, and the top started, bouncing back and forth like something hit it. An orb did, but I mean, like something physical hit it. And I have theories behind some of the orbs. Some of the orbs, I think, are an intelligent entity that we don't understand, whether they be a spirit of some sort or just some kind of energy entity outside of a spirit. But I have a theory that when Sasquatch, there's more to Sasquatch than people realize. And a lot of people will look at you and laugh at you about this. And I don't think it's funny at all. This is just what happens, whether it's believed or not, of what they do. And I've seen some things that Sasquatch do that are completely over your head, and you can't really explain how the hell that happened on a paranormal aspect. Well, for instance, I want to say 5 or 6 times in my life I've seen a Sasquatch. Um, I've seen it, it's seen me, and then like the last one that I see that I remember, we both seen each other, and this was in Montana, and it was up around what's that called? Up above Darby, Montana, into the Bitterroot Wilderness. And this thing looked at me, and it was peeking from behind a tree, and it took off running just a few steps, looked back at me, decided it was gonna hook it to the right, like move real fast to the right, or yeah, to the right. And as it did that, it's almost like reality, like it unzipped reality and just went into reality behind a veil of some sort. And I've seen each one of those Sasquatch I've seen have done that, about 5 or 6 of them. It's like they unzipped reality and just feathered off into a veil. It's hard. I don't know how to explain it, but that's kind of the way I could explain it. Is kind of it.
The way that you're describing it here, this is how I'm kind of envisioning it. It's almost like there's a veil there that it's kind of like just slowly disappears into, but it does so in a way that it's kind of does so in small increments or something.
No, it doesn't disappear in an aspect the way a spirit may disappear when you see a full body apparition. It just kind of goes away, or it's not just there and then just pop. It's not there. It's just envision somebody uh like they're standing in a hallway looking at you, and there's a hallway to their right, and as they move into that hallway around that corner, how their whole body goes behind that. It doesn't really disappear, but you see what I'm saying? You can't see it no more. But this is happening like and it's hard for me to explain. Like it unzipped reality is the only way I could say it. And it didn't really disappear, but it went behind into another reality or something like that.
Why do
Behind
you
it.
use the term zip? Because that's, that indicates that you've opened up something. Is that kind of what you're meaning? Oh, it opens up something?
Yeah, yeah, like it unzipped reality. Like, there's a big zipper there and it just unzipped reality and it stepped into it and you no longer see it as it goes into this, I don't know, other dimension. They say that they go into this alternate dimension, which it's a parallel dimension, um and maybe that's how they do it, I guess. There's no other explanation why that Sasquatch, where I don't know how he did it or what, you know, I don't know. I can't really explain it, but that's what it looked like. It just
Just walk behind something like it went into some place else.
yeah,
But if a person were standing, and walking through a doorway, you would see parts of it disappear at a time, and like it would be a process. Was it like that?
yeah, like it went behind something, but there's nothing to go behind. It went behind reality, I guess you could say, of what you're looking at. Yeah,
That's interesting. I think that's one of the best descriptions I've had of that, even though a lot of people have seen similar things to that. So what do you think? What do you think a Sasquatch is?
um, I don't really know. I believe that they've been here for a very, very long time. I'm talking millions of years. I think they walked with the giants. There's been, there's giants. Some people call them Nephilim. There's different names for them. I think they walked with the giants. they've been here for millions of years. Some people theorize that that they could have came here from another planet. Um, I'm not gonna tell them, oh no, that ain't true, because I don't know, and it's totally possible. Maybe they came here from another planet millions of years ago, and they inhabited this planet, and they learned to live with nature in such a way that's not destructive, and they become very consciously and heightened. Their vibrations very high, and that's why they are able to do some mysterious things that we don't understand until we can figure out and understand it. Then it'll be common sense to us. But I think they're very it's a very old, ancient race of a humanoid type of a creature that we don't understand. That's pretty far out there, that has a lot of abilities to it that we don't understand. But as far as what they are, I don't know. Like whenever I tell people about a sighting, I just tell them they're this just hominid dudes, these hominid guys, that look human-like and standing upright. Some of them's got gray skin, some of them's got jet black skin, some of them's got brown skin, some of them look a little more apish, even though they're not ape, a little bit, but none of them really have an ape nose that I've ever seen, all pushed in like a gorilla. None of them had anything like that. Their noses were always, they're either really wide or they're kind of long. I call them troll noses because they're kind of big and long. You know what I mean? And I've got the picture of the one up in that I got up in uh, Long's Peak. It had one of those noses. It was kind of a troll-like nose, just kind of big and long and sticking out there.
So your first Bigfoot encounter was with your family, and you were on a camping trip, right? And has your family continued pursuing this as well, and have they had sightings also?
Um, no, my mom's she's getting up there in age. She can't do much as far as uh getting out. Uh, my dad, he don't go investigate it or anything. I think he lives up in Florida or something, and he uh he just kind of does his thing on he just does his own thing, as far as work and stuff like that. But my sister, I'm the only one that actually really pursues it with high interest, and but nobody else really does. I mean, like my sisters, they don't, they've never seen one, of course, but I'm the only one that's really that sees them, year after year, and I'm the only one that really pursues it. But nobody in the family. Well, my nephews, I got some nephews they'll go out and investigate a little bit. They did with me for a while before I moved from the Pagosa, Colorado. So
You said that you got a feeling sometimes, kind of knowing where to go look. What did you describe that to me, and how much you depend on that to be able to actually see some? Because it sounds like you have a lot more sightings than a lot of other people do.
yeah, there's a lot of people that actually they ask me, like, how in the world do you find these things on a regular basis like you do? And well, I tell them I've got a lot of knowledge about these creatures, and I really do. And when and I could, like I said, I can look and read the landscape and kind of figure out where they may be sitting and where they may be moving. And when I get hit with these feelings, I can't describe like what, and put it in words and like what it feels like. I want to say I feel like my mind almost gets like my head almost gets paralyzed in one section. I guess you could say, like it's like a paralyzing feeling in my brain or something. I don't know. It's really weird. And my wife will say the same thing. She just can't figure out, how I'm so right when we're in an area, like maybe we're cruising down the road and there's forest on either side, and I'll just get like hit with this, I don't know, weird. It's not really weird, but Oh, it's really hard to explain. And then I get hit with this feeling in a certain section of the forest, and I'll reach and I'll look at her and I'll say, right in there's good. I'll find something in there. And she can't, she can even tell you too. You can't count how many times I've said that and ended up going in the spot where I had a feeling and found structures and found them. So it's pretty interesting.
Do you think they're telepathic? Do you think you're telepathic? Do you think there's any form of communication between the two of you?
I've never had one telepathically speak to me. Um, I've never had one get me sick. They can get you sick. They can get you disoriented. I've taken people out with me that have got really sick and disoriented, puking, headache, and I was perfectly fine. Um, I have never had one make me sick or talk to me telepathically. I don't know how to do that myself. I wish I did, but I I think I don't know. I might pick up on their energy maybe when they're out there, and that's what feels like it grabs my brain. That's why that's maybe a way I can explain it. It seems like the back of my brain gets squeezed or something weird, and then I call it like my brain gets paralyzed. I know it sounds funny and weird, but I don't know. I can't really explain the feeling that I get, and I'm usually right when I get hit with these feelings.
People have kind of befriended them and kind of carried on a long-term relationship with certain clan of Bigfoot. Have you ever done that?
Um, no, I mean, I will kind of, I will friend them, but I don't really go out of my way to really befriend them. I am kind to them, and a lot of them are very kind to me. Um, but I don't really, because a lot of areas that I go into is I'll go into an area and I may see a Sasquatch that's never seen me and I've never seen him. But some of these places up around where I live right now, there's a lot of Sasquatch that's seen me several times, and I've seen them several times. So I think, in a sense, they might feel because I know they feel good around me. When you go out looking for Sasquatch, you have to go out there with a good heart. You do, if you have some kind of dark history or bad intent sitting in that mind back there a little bit, maybe you may not feel like you're going to have a bad intent, but you may overreact in certain situations and turn it into something more serious than what you may intend by your reactions. And you look for these things. You for first of all, you got to have a really good heart, because they can see just like an animal can. You could go in there laughing, and you may appear to be a great guy, but what is that energy behind you? Some of the stuff you may have done, the way you've treated other animals, the way you've treated other people. Um, they could feel certain things about you, and uh, and a lot of people say, well, maybe and I think so too. Well, maybe they feel a very very good energy coming off of me, and I think it's very possible because I am a really good guy. I really don't. Yeah, I was when I was young. I was a little, I wasn't the greatest. I in and out of jail several times. But that's just growing up. You tend to, but it wasn't nothing so serious as far as like actually doing such harm to an individual. It's irreversible. Like a lot of people have actually done. If I may have gotten in a fight and thrown in jail or something stupid like that. But they could feel the kind of person that you are out in those woods. And that's one thing that you got to kind of keep in mind. And whenever you go out in the woods, don't wear red. Even if you're just going on a hike, don't wear red. That seems to be a very, very negative color to the Sasquatch and other things out there.
You obviously have a wealth of experience.
Yeah.
So, share some of those moments, out in the woods, some of the encounters that you've had.
I was up at the Johnny's Park area last year, last fall, before it started getting really cold. And I went up there to kind of investigate, kind of scout around that area because I haven't been in that area to actually, well, I have, but I didn't go that far in there. I didn't get a chance to get boots on the ground and go check stuff out a little bit. So finally I made it back there and I went and scouted some areas out and examined the landscape like I do, kind of track them down, trying to figure out where they're at. And so I seen this one area on the side of the mountain. I told my wife, I said, that's good stuff over there. I said, what? Let's go over there. I said, I believe this road swings right through the middle of this little 4x4 road. And sure enough, we went over there and I got hit with that feeling like, oh God, there's some stuff going on in here. And then right away, as we come around the corner, there's this massive X right off the side of the road. And I pointed at that. And I told my wife, I said, am I right or am I right? Head getting all big. I'm like, heck yeah, I know what I'm talking about. So I pulled over and went walking down in there, and I found all kinds of structures. I was getting, zapped with feelings and stuff like that. And I was filming this really cool bend, and the tip was stuck into the ground. And as I swing around, there was three Sasquatch right below me, and they all moved off in the same direction in an area that I told my wife they sit, but they're not there now. I think they're on this other side, and I was totally right. And yeah, there was three of them, and the Sasquatch around here, they're not real big. They're not like these monstrous creatures as 12 foot, 15 foot tall, 10 foot, like they are in the eastern area of the United States. They're real small, 4, 5, 6. One of the bigger ones I've seen was about 7 foot tall. And these guys that I seen up at Johnny's Park also, they were just they were on the small side, and I think the biggest one was probably a little bit taller than me, and I'm 6'3". And yeah, so and I got him on video. There, you could see him on the video. You slow it down, you could see him walk by. You could see him walk away from me. And well, I got him up. I got up onto the road. I told my wife, I said, I was a stack. I said, I just got three more. I just got three more on video. So I made this little Austin Powers turnaround on the road to head back. And as soon as I got turned around, got hit with this intense smell of sulfur for about 3 seconds, and then it went away. I don't really know what that means, to be honest. And then we just made our way out of there, and that was that. I was a bit confused by that. I smelt that a sulfur smell like that a handful of times in my life, and it kind of creeps me out because there's people that are knowledgeable in the spirit world and the paranormal world where they tell me that usually that smell of sulfur means that like a demon. And I was like, oh God, I don't need that. And and then I have been told by others that if you if you open open that door to another dimension, like you crack reality to enter that dimension, it tends to throw off a really bad smell like that. And sometimes it'll smell like sulfur. What I've been told, smells like sulfur, and it can smell like um pee, like really, really bad urine. It wasn't deer urine, it wasn't bear urine. I know what those kind of know what those smell like. This is just the urine that I smell out in the woods is smell like somebody had a really bad bladder infection, maybe. It was pretty nasty.
So, have you ever seen a UFO?
I haven't seen them in a sense like they're taking Bigfoot or anything like that. I have where if I'm in an area where I see a lot of Sasquatch and there's a lot of Sasquatch activity in the area, I have witnessed a UFO in the sky flying over that area. Different types. I've seen the cylinder, cigar-shaped ones, the disc type ones, the orb ball, chrome ball. UFOs. I seen one that a UFO that was. I want to say that it looked kind of like a big giant snowflake, but not really. It had a lot of weird shapes to it like that. And I seen uh like diamond. I guess you would say like your typical diamond type shape, pyramid shape. Several different shapes I've seen because where I come from in Pagosa Springs, Colorado, Dulce Base is just 17 miles away from there, where supposedly there's an underground UFO and alien base under there. But wherever I'm in an area, it seems like, and not all the time, and it's not that often at all, but there'll be a UFO flying over an area that I've experienced a lot of Sasquatch. So,
I've heard that there is a lot of kind of unusual electrical or magnetic activity or density around areas where Sasquatch is. Have
hmm
you experienced anything like that?
absolutely, I get my hairs stand up on my neck and my um, arms, almost like I'm going to get hit with lightning, but there's no lightning around. But it's a an electrical static charge in some areas that I've actually been into, and I have put two and two together and associated that with Sasquatch. That it's and the energy that they put off, something that they're doing, can cause something like that. I don't fully understand it because it hasn't happened a bunch of times, but it has happened quite a few times. Um, it's not something that happens every time I go out and every time I see one, but uh, I do have some devices like an EMF. What's it called? Yeah, an EMF detector, a radiation detector, and just my cell phone alone, where I'll go into some of these areas with structures, and I could take that EMF detector, and it'll be zeroed out. There's nothing going on, and then as I walk into an area with a structure or a few structures or whatever, suddenly that EMF detector is flying off the hook, like off the charts. And I'm like, well, that's very strange. And I walk back out of the area and it goes down to zero. And sometimes I'll have that radiation detector go off saying that there's a high amount of radiation inside this structure. And then I walk outside the structure area and it goes away. It's, it reads uh, your normal level of radiation. And then again, like I said with my phone, a lot of these areas because I can't go live on YouTube. I just don't have the cell phone service out here. But whenever I could go into these structures, my phone will suddenly get from no service to 3 bars, 2 to 3 bars, sometimes 4 bars. And actually sit there on top of the mountain or in the dense forest somewhere and make a phone call. And then I walk out of that structure area 20 foot away or so and no service again, gone. So it's very strange. So there is some electromagnetic energies and different stuff that go on inside there. And sometimes you could feel it on your body. It's the strangest feeling.
So do you think it acts like an antenna?
I just think that there's some kind of energy there that allows, um, like say with the cell phone, I don't think it's intended to be like an antenna. At least I don't think so. Uh, Maybe they communicate with their mind, to others, in these spots, maybe like radio signals somehow. Because it's funny that I get cell phone service in a spot full of structures that have no conventional electricity or anything going to it, and no tower. So yeah, I don't know, strange.
That is very odd. Very interesting, though. I don't think I've ever heard that before. How often has that happened?
It happens quite often. Sometimes it'll almost happen every time I go out. Not at every spot. Some spots are just that there's nothing there, just structures. And then I may run into a spot just out of the blue somewhere with a few structures that's suddenly it's charged with energy or something. And I've got cell phone service. My EMF detector will read high. So, and then other times I can, what's weird about that too is that energy is not there all the time. I went back out into areas where I had picked up energy from my devices, from my cell phone. I went into structured areas where I had energy and stuff go on like that. There was nothing there when I went back. So it's kind of weird. Something's going on there.
What else do you have to share with the audience that you think that we need to understand and know?
I think when you understand these Sasquatch, I think nobody will really fully understand Sasquatch. Um, One thing to know though is never consider them a demonic being. They're not a demonic being. They're a flesh and blood creature, just like you or I, or that elk or that bear out there. You got to understand the aspects of this creature and know that they are who they are, and they do have um emotion and a culture, and they basically have their own culture. They live their own life out there, but there is a reason why they stay away from humans. And I always say, always have utmost respect for these creatures, and by no means don't gift them food. If you don't want any problems, don't gift them food. Gift them toys and marbles and different stuff that people have given them, and including me. I don't gift them even that much. But absolutely do not gift them food. They're a flesh and blood creature. I call them these hominid guys. Just have respect. Don't never wear red out in the woods. Um, just have a lot of respect for them. And when you actually investigate an area, don't investigate that area every week for the entire summer. And a lot of these places I'll go into maybe once a year or once every 2 years. Just remember, if you're a skeptic or not, these Sasquatch, and these other beings, these other creatures, they're out there, whether you believe it or not. I could say I don't believe in that couch right there, and it's there whether you believe it or not. It's as real as that elk walking across the road. And when I see these Sasquatch, they're as real as an elk walking across the road. Just these hominid guys. So just have a lot of respect for them and be very cautious about how you interact with them. Very cautious.
You ever take any expeditions out?
Yeah, I've taken people out. I welcome people if they want to go out. Uh, I just have two rules, two basic rules for them. Don't wear red. Don't run from me if something happens. I I know how to handle um I know how to handle these creatures pretty good. I know how to handle wildlife out there. I grew up in the woods my entire life, guided elk hunters and bear hunters, different kind of hunters, and but that's my basic two rules when I take somebody out there. Don't run, don't wear red, and we'll be fine no matter what happens.
So
Because
tell
I
me,
tell you,
if you were going to take out an expedition, what would be, kind of the agenda, the schedule, sort of what would that look like?
basically we just kind of set it up. If like here in town, say a fellow wants to go out with me, maybe a, a wife and a husband want to go out, and they want to experience Sasquatch, and I'm the perfect guy to go out and have an experience with, and experience these things. And we'll just kind of set up, the date and time, usually about a week ahead of time. I'll be like, well, we could set it up for this next weekend. And if you want, we can go out Saturday and Sunday. It's up to you, whatever you have open for schedule. And sometimes they'll go out both days, and we'll just basically get up around, and head to our locations about 9 o'clock in the morning, and try to spend a full day out exploring a few different locations. And most of the time, uh, you know, the people who go out with me aren't disappointed. We have something happens about every time. And I don't ever really take more than three people with me. So well, actually, all together, just me and two other people. If I take more than, if there's 4, 5, 6 people with us, uh, most likely it's a very rare that we have an encounter.
So do you ever do overnight campouts?
I haven't done. I've done a lot of overnight stuff, but overnight um, Sasquatch investigations is kind of on the risky side. Um, it's way more risky than the daytime. That's these things. This is when these things wake up and they're out there and about. But I'm kind of uh, I'm kind of waiting to do like more night investigations until I get a FLIR camera. I've been trying to get my hands on such a thing, but they're on the expensive side. And so I think when I get my hands on something like that to where I can actually see out further in the darkness, and I could go on more night stuff, because other than that, if I go camping, we'll hear Sasquatch screaming from this mountain and that mountain. I mean, shoot, from right here from my house. Uh, we haven't heard them this year, but last year we would listen almost every night, starting at around 9 o'clock. One screams over this mountain. South of me, another one screams, and then to the west of me, another one screams, and they all sit there and scream at each other for about 10 minutes, and then it stops, and then all the neighbors, we all go out there and listen to these Sasquatch scream at each other for about 10 minutes, and it's the coolest thing. So yeah, I want to do more nighttime stuff, but that's something I'm not going to do alone.
I think they're in clans. Do you think those are the same clan that are communicating there, or do you think there are multiple clans communicating?
There's multiple clans communicating, multiple little clans and tribes communicating between each other. Uh, it's got to be they're talking to each other for some reason, and I don't know what they're saying or what they're preparing.
Have you heard any kind of what seems like a language, or is it mostly just howls and screams?
Oh, I've heard them talk. Yeah, the strangest damn thing you've ever heard. Hearing it on a recording is one thing, but when I out in the woods, um, yeah, you personally experience something like that with your own ears, you can. It's something else. This language, like, what are they saying? Sometimes they incorporate. It sounds like Native American words into their language, and that's strange because I'm half Native American myself, and like the last one I heard talk was up here in Twin Sisters area, and we were actually fishing that day. Fishing was kind of lousy, and there's kind of a lot of tourists around the lake and people fishing, and we went up here to a lake, and I decided, well, I told my wife, I said, yeah, just for shits and giggles, let's go up here and just look up in the forest off the side of the road up here, see if just to see if anything's changed. And I got a little feeling, not very strong, and I thought, let's go check it out. So we went up there, and I seen something in the woods, a tree that I thought had been manipulated by them. And I know, like, I pretty much know all these forests around here like the back of my hand. If something's been moved, I will know about it, or taken down, or built something. So I went up there and I grabbed my cell phone and I told my wife, I said, give me a sec, I'm going to walk up to this. And that's all I had. I wasn't intending on Sasquatching. I was walking up to the structure. It turned out it was just a natural thing, with a tree. And I broke my cell phone. I was going to take pictures of it. And then no sooner than that, off to just to the south of me, off to my right, I hear this Sasquatch talking, and I knew exactly what it was, so it didn't surprise me. And I looked over into the trees. I raised my cell phone up to get pictures. Sure enough, about 2 second window, I went walking between the trees. I took 4 pictures. And the way they talk is, it's just weird.
What do you think they're saying to one another?
I don't know. And the one I seen that day, I don't know who he was talking to, because he was the only one I seen. There might have been more above him, but he was the only one that I seen He was slouched over, all black, and he was walking like McGregor in the ring, just like he was just, just badass. Just like he's the toughest thing out there. The way he was walking, it was so funny. Just remember, if you go investigate these Sasquatch, don't show them a lot of respect. Don't gift them. Don't wear red. Just don't. Just go investigate them. If you run into one and you have a little bit of an encounter, leave them alone for a couple of months at least, because they are a creature with emotion and feelings and culture, and they you know you making an appearance out there, they don't trust you one bit. You're a human, so just have a lot of respect, and just and be kind to one another. That's another thing. I've had a lot of other researchers attack me online, and they're pretty much in it for the fame and fortune, and they're not really in it for the discovery and the knowledge and the education of this creature. And I've had a lot of them attack me. A lot of them tried to take me down. A lot of them tried to, there's even a guy here in town. He did the same thing. He said I'm bootlegging on him. And it's just like, we're not a cartel here. We're not in competition with each other. When you We're all in it together to try and figure out the species and to figure out what they're about and where they're from. Don't be a typical human, and fight and try to destroy each other over this. This isn't a thing to hate each other. This is a thing that and heightens your conscious and your spirits within yourself. Don't hate each other over it. Work with each other. Just don't be like that. So, but anyways, be safe out there squatching, and if you would, come check out my YouTube channel, Project Sasquatch. I'm very informational. I got a lot of great stuff on there, and I got a, a Facebook page called group page called Project Sasquatch, and you could go share all your stuff with Sasquatch, any of your sightings, any of your pictures. Other researchers want to share their stuff from YouTube. You can come and share it on there, so other people can come and check out your stuff. So, yeah, come check me out. You won't be disappointed, and always be kind. Don't be negative. Don't fight, and don't hate on with each other. It's never going to get anywhere. Don't separate each other from each other over certain things or different beliefs. No matter what you believe in, always keep an open mind and always know. Sasquatch is the key.